Under the Practice tab is a mode called Performance Center. This allows you to hit shots in real round scenarios to calculate strokes gained. In other words, it tells you how much better or worse you're doing on each shot and collectively in relationship to your handicap. This is ideal for golfers who have completed the bulk of their swing changes and are beginning to focus more on scoring. Overall, it's a fun and insightful twist on practice that can test whichever part of your game you wish to know more about and can often help identify strengths and weaknesses. I strongly recommend logging in with the TrackMan app. That way, it will save the data from your session for review. You may also adjust a few of the game settings. This will change the course conditions and you can set it up to be similar to the courses that you are planning to play. With those two things locked in, you can then launch this mode. For our purposes, we will be a guest. In the initial launch of Performance Center, there is this warm-up option. You can hit as many clubs or shots as you would like. It's not going to be recorded for later review, but you do get 8 data tiles to review some of the performance metrics, and of course you can customize those to your liking. This is a generic range, no intended targets, and you're not going to get any strokes gained calculations here. Again, this is just a warm-up. But should you be ready to move on to the actual Performance Center, just click the Done button in the lower left corner. Once Performance Center has launched, you will need to fill in some information. The most crucial one is handicap. This is the entire basis for the strokes gained calculation. Again, it's telling you how much better or worse you're doing against your handicap. So if you do not fill this in properly, you could be a 10 handicap going against scratch standards. That would be a very pessimistic but also false assessment of your skill level. So make sure to choose the one that is most reflective of where you are at. Now I am, according to the GAN at the time of this recording, a plus 1.5, so I'm just going to leave it on scratch. You will then have two options, tee shots or approach shots. I strongly recommend setting this number to the typical course yardage that you play from. You will of course get varying distances off the tee, but we're not playing an actual round. We're just hitting tee shots. The intervals will again give you holes that could play more or less than what you're used to on an average par 4 or par 5. The other option are the approach shots. Now you have two choices underneath this. You can use the interval here, which allows you to set a custom range, or you can keep it narrowed to one particular yardage. You'll of course get a little bit of variance within that, plus or minus 5 yards, but this is more so if you want to work on a specific club. To reflect that of a round, I would recommend going interval. Now, if there was one particular skill set you wanted to work on, say your wedges, you could reduce the yardages. And you can take this from 30 yards to 220 yards. So you got a widespread use of clubs and distances that would reflect an actual round. Now for the most part, I keep this randomized. The computer does a good job of keeping it balanced as far as what distances you're hitting from, what kind of difficulty of pin you're dealing with. You could take that out of the equation, but to keep it interesting and just for the sake of balance and simplicity, I just leave it on random. Now for our purposes, I'll just set this to pitch shots. And from there we can confirm and begin to hit. Once the Performance Center launches, you can see a number of windows here. We have 8 data tiles on the left. Those can always be customized to show your preferred ball and club metrics. We have a list of shots here on the left and then the summary on the top right. You'll notice an aerial view of the shot at hand, and there is a circle around the pin. This is the expected outcome given the handicap. On the bottom left, there is the distance for the shot and an edit button. This allows us to go back to the previous window where we can set the parameters for what we want to work on. And then upon confirming it, we'll have our set of shots available. I'll go ahead and hit a few so we can see how the data is organized. So you see the list of shots on the left. In this window, we can see the performance on a per shot basis and an aggregate basis. Now, per shot is going to be more insightful because it's an average of the strokes gained on a shot that you had within this range. So between 30 and 75 yards, I am gaining 0.19 strokes per shot, which is in step with a scratch golfer. Aggregate can look a little bit better, but it's simply because I've hit so many shots. Now, if I do have that many shots within that range during the course of a round, yes, I could possibly gain this many strokes. But the per shot is going to be a better judge of how you are doing.